Welcome to the live session. The question I wish to address today the question I wish to answer today is a question of my own. I live uh, in a place that is constructed for the sake of a community. So this is a new place. Since this is a new space that we have constructed for the sake of enabling a community, a tribe, we didn't have anyone visiting here for a while during the construction. Someone visited this place recently. After a while, like I greeted them and I was happy that they were here. A couple of hours later, I started wondering why humans speak so much. I could not help it. I was just stuck in, I was left odd. I'm like blank, observing and thinking, why does this person not stop talking? I also recognized that the person was feeling free in my presence, and that's why she was talking out loud. Otherwise, the same conversation happens with most people, but only that they don't utter it out. It happens within their minds. Then I remembered something that is a common phrase in the IT culture. Sometimes while brainstorming, they say, I'm thinking out loud, which means that thinking is the conversation that is happening within ourselves. Thinking just means us talking to ourselves. I have enough reason to believe most people talk to themselves almost all the time if they are not talking out loud. That talking to ourselves is a manifestation of the restlessness of the mind. When that speech stops, then we start experiencing freedom. Only when that speech stops, you will realize you are the observer. That is that is how you take the first step towards self-realization. Self-realization is not something spiritual or fancy or something that you should seek. It's a kind of curiosity which ends up in realization. It's a kind of curiosity that springs in certain individuals. That curiosity is quite rare. For a man completely indulged in the material affairs of men, the same question seems quite silly, outright simple. Who am I seems like not even a question. But that same question means the world to a seeker. Seekers are born out of pain or accidents. or merits. That is what people used to call as karma. When you consider the world at large, and you think in the frameworks that modern education system has given you, that is the division of knowledge into various subjects, and then start thinking. And when you trust what sciences say, if you are a good learner, you will end up quite disappointed. So I was wondering if knowledge is a curse. Is knowledge a curse? To understand that and to reason with this question, to give an answer to this question, if knowledge is a curse, we should be capable of identifying knowledge. What can be classified as knowledge? What falls into the domain of knowledge? Can there be something that is not true but still fall under knowledge? I don't think so. If you call something knowledge, it should be the absolute truth. In that case, what classifies as absolute truth? Something that never changes. What is it that never changes? What truth stands the test of time? It is only the knowledge of the self, which means self knowledge is the only knowledge there is. All else is information, or more accurately called perspective. Anything other than the knowledge of the self, the knowledge of the undivided eternal consciousness, is just perspective. It's not absolute. When they say science is evolving, it means that our perspectives are changing. With the tools and instruments that I had, this is how much observation I could make. With more evidence, either with the help of better tools or better reasoning, new truths are established. For the sake of language, for the lack of better words, we say better truths. But if something was truth, it should never change. So if someone says science is evolving, it just looks like they know nothing. And you must have heard researchers. If you ever hear researchers speak, that's what you will come out feeling. These people know nothing. What I intend to convey is that changing perspective, which changes, you can call it evolves, but it just changed. That changes over time, and something that doesn't change for a while is what we call established science. All that is again perspective. It is not eternally true like the truth of the self. A saint or a sage 10,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 500 years ago, or 500 years from today, or 10,000 years from today, will see the same eternal reality of the self, and it is experienced within. That alone classifies as knowledge. That alone stands the test of time. He who knows the self can be called the all knowing, the enlightened. No matter what profession you have chosen, no matter what work you do, no matter what your lifestyle is, you should have one kind of contemplation. That contemplation where you think, is the work that I'm doing, is spending the time that I have in this particular manner worth it? Am I using my time in the most valuable way? As we know, time waits for none. We have short lifespans, even shorter because of modernization, even poorer in terms of vitality, vigor, connection with nature, peace, even lesser experience of beauty, with fewer joyful moments, with a quarter of the life wasted from childhood to youth in getting trained for unnecessary pursuits. Feebly walking to work and making the rich even richer. Or if you are the rich, then you should know that you're not happy with what you have and you want more. Amass endless sums of money. What for? All for agency. If you see the pointlessness of this pursuit, then your contemplation has been fruitful. I found another way in which I could explain why the observer, is different from your mind. If you watch a movie, or if you are quite involved with a video that is playing on a gadget, on a laptop, on a mobile, on a TV screen. When you are quite involved in a video that you are watching, you will not notice someone who passes by, or you might not hear someone calling you. Where were you? You had your ears were in its place. Your mind could process what your senses sensed, but you would not have heard them call you. You would not have seen someone approach you. If they, if somebody walks from behind you or even in front of you, many people who are lost into their phones would have no idea that someone just passed by them or spoke to them or called their name. This is very common in today's world. If you didn't hear it when you were engaged with the gadget, where were you? You were inside the gadget, which means you had left your body through your senses. So the observer can travel outwards and inwards. When you observe something very seriously, a video, that the content being played there could control your heart rate. How is that possible? If you haven't become part of that video, or you have made that which is displayed on screen part of your own self, something should have happened. When you retract from the gadget, when you divert your attention, when you point your senses elsewhere in some other direction, that is when you retract from the gadget back into your own bodies. That he who comes back when you retract is the observer. And what you should let that observer observe is the breath. And when that observer observes the breath and travels with the breath inwards, the mind comes to a standstill. The mind freezes. When that observer went outwards into the gadget, if you are watching a very interesting movie, even there, the mind froze, stopped processing what was perceived through the senses, which means you wouldn't even perceive it. What touched your ears didn't touch your brain because your mind froze. In creation, the mind has this beautiful capacity to freeze, and you have the capacity to experience emotion, happiness, bliss, all that when the mind freezes. What movies or such shows tap into is your potential, the nature's potential to let the mind freeze. And only humans have this potential. You cannot get a monkey to watch a movie, sit straight for 3 hours. other than if that monkey has a human brain or a human awareness. Any animal would look at it differently. Nature has created that beauty, has given the opportunity for an observation when becomes when an observation is intense, it will stop reasoning in the mind, or the reasoning faculties would become very subtle. You will stop talking to yourself while watching a movie. You are just registering what is spoken in that video. Similarly, when you start observing carefully within yourselves, you will watch what happens within you, like you watch a movie and the mind freezes. The mind is given this opportunity to freeze. Nature has made creation has made it this way so that you have an opportunity to observe what happens within you. Misusing that opportunity is how gadgets become so desirable. Instead of freezing the mind through internal journey and experiencing bliss, when the mind freezes, there is bliss. So you send the mind outwards into the gadget and freeze the mind, though not so effectively. You experience joy, a kind of joy, which is like virtual sex for the virtual experience you had. When you become that observer, your experience is enormous and beautiful. See you.